Я не слышу опять ничего.
Децентрализация, зокрема, для об'єктів.
Она же начала. Слышь.
Now we start the briefing. How does community development affect the party budgeting, a government development strategy and territory planning? This is our project, Spokespersons of Communities, and how the communities are ready. The first communities, United Communities, which number 605. Now we invited Anatolii Dushko, chairman of the Baranivska United and Territorial Community. I would like to announce what we are going to talk about today, how participatory budgeting influence as well as strategy and territory planning on the community development, and in general what are the peculiar features of your community. To start the talk, can you tell us that in 2016 the first election took place? It was in 2016. Your community united 13 radas, 34 settlements. What was the main argument why the community united? Most likely that those councils which were available as of that moment, they were tired of operating individually, and there were some factors which interfered with the operations of councils, and now real people's power, just citizens' power, is now being launched. This is philosophy when the first option, when president appoint a person, or when people elect a person to some position. These are two different philosophies. For me, despite of the thought that everything will be changing on top to bottom methods, I believe that everything will be quite vice versa, from bottom to up. In villages, in towns of Ukraine, and in cities, we should seek better fate. We as citizens, talking about reforms, everyone asks himself or herself what I will have from the changes upon they are realized. In your community, 24,000 citizens live. What are the results of the reforms already? What tools have been built upon the reform? We are not a unique community with some very high per capita income. We have united 32 villages, and maybe our situation is even worse than it was before. But in terms of development, this would be the point of growth of proceeds into national budget and Ukraine's economic growth. 1 year ago, I visited the villages and I saw uncomfortable, very cold, not heated club premises in those villages. Our results are very phenomenal. In 2016 they were 26% and now 80% contracts for buildings. I think that in every village club, in every cultural center, we can provide district heating supply. During January, we organized the entire structure. On July 1st, we took to our balance sheet the healthcare institutions, and on August, we took all the educational institutions to our balance sheet. We have 6 boiler houses which are under reconstruction. We shall be using only alternative sources of energy instead of gas and oil. We will be improving the infrastructure and develop the community. I understand that the first stage involves closing the gaps such as lack of district heating. Not so long ago, your community demonstrated presented the strategy. So what are strategic areas of your development? And this strategy is till 2020. It is like revolution by Trotsky. This is a permanent development and correction. We are lucky to have formed the unique team. This is the main investment. Human resources, the main investment. When the Institute of Civil Society announced the competition for space planning, we won, and this was huge efforts, input, and very high risks in the process of implementation, because we do not have data on united territorial communities. What areas are included? Everything is included into our strategy. If we do everything in the right way, we then enjoy assistance of God. On May 30, the concepts were submitted to the competition of grants of the EU, and we were helped to the project creation of the youth Agra cluster, including building of cheese making enterprise. Agra, our partner, started to build a farm for 1,000 heads of cattle, and in the center of town we have 600 square meters of land plot, and we need to build a local, not just market, but a local theater where everyone will feel comfortable. We should address this issue as well, and we live in the forested zone. Zhytomyr region is a forested area, and we want to build cooling facilities to cool forest products such as berries and mushrooms. Do you plan processing of berries? Well, maybe later. By the end of this year, we will sign a contract. Upon we become a winner of these contacts, and we also want to conduct fixed infrastructure projects. I would like you to defend the strategy, not just the figures. What is your reform is focused on individuals, so that they can develop and open up potentials. What the reforms would give to individuals. Look, I do not know everything. Why we are happy that we started this strategy and presented it already. We understood that we should change local symbols on our coat of arms. We have a lion, and there are persons, flags, and the flags. We are thinking of starting manufacturing fabric of flags. We are the area with organic agricultural production. So we are now in the process of self-identification. We have not yet calculated everything. But like our colleagues, we hope for better, for changes, for kindness. We had a meeting with some potential partners who want to build a station which would run on wooden waste. So we will strengthen our economy in our community thanks to our strategy. You told that there are many people who want to process flags. Do you mean that these persons want to establish small businesses? Whether your community have already decided how to assist these startups, potential startups? I don't like to tell about flags. I don't know what will happen out of this idea. In 2017, we want to allocate 500,000 hryvnias and announce contest for small projects. We will fund small farmers, for example, geese farming, or maybe turkey farming. We should give the opportunity to earn money, to become businessmen, to village residents. Several months ago, I addressed the government of Ukraine and the Association of Towns of Ukraine so that they develop the program of rural health care system. I don't know. When the president presented this program, I even did not believe that this was my letter, which was an impetus, and now 4 billion are provided for rural health care. I want to change the world. If we do not change villages, we will not go the way which, for example, the Great Britain has been moving on. I want our village residents to feel the money, the opportunities of local and national budget. I think we will achieve good results. I think that young people and other residents of villages, they should have opportunity, enjoy opportunity to believe in their strengths. Let's return to 500,000 that you will provide to residents of your community. Will it be the aid which they should return? Yes, they should return this aid. This funding will be provided to potential small farmers for growth of poultry and for other agricultural productions. Talking about the strategy, we talked about integrated planning of community development in every settlement. Previously, the strategies experience was available, and for united communities, you are pioneers, you are flagships. Every person should plan his or her individual life. Not everything was bad in the Soviet Union. Planning should be in place. Then we will get good results. When there is no law about land rights, rights to the land outside the borders of settlements, but what is the strategy and what is planning? Development plan prototype, we have already compiled it, and it is undergoing expert assessment. This is not the constitution of community. This is the plan which can be corrected. The experts have compiled this plan, which is adjusted to our needs, to our specifics, to our resources. I think there is no so good strategies as ours in Ukraine. According to the philosophy, the strategy shows what we want to do. The scheme demonstrates where we would like to do this. So they should be issued in complex, in combination. I saw that you had the meeting with IMF representatives. What IMF representatives were doing in your united community? Alexander Slobozhan is a director of Enterprise. He is young. He entrusted me to represent the Association of Towns of Ukraine. I know the situation, and I am a useful resource of the association. I think that it was Alexander Slobozhan who told the IMF to visit our community. I was a member of the Party of Industrials and Entrepreneurs, and I do not allow to the management of the party, and I am a member of a crop party, and I do not allow to any dirty games in the party. Not so long ago, small hydro was launched, which cost 20 million. What for your community need this small hydro? In 2010, I was appointed the head of the council, village council. In 2015, I won 80% of votes, and now even more, so my positions are improving. So 21 million of investment into small hydro. At the beginning of 2011, I visited many small hydros. One of them was Austrian. I studied how to do so that the small hydro is returned to our small river of Sluch. We had a small hydro for 160 kilowatts hours. We had the old turbine, so we stirred up all the hydro community, and the hydro's community members visited our place. For 5 years I have been fighting for this business, which is not mine. When land plots were not approved because there was no law, the apportioning was not allowed, and I was blamed in corruption, but I told that I would be lobbying interests of everything which is in the interests of our community. Now you get some proceeds to your community from the small hydro. Yes. We launched solemnly our new small hydros. This is the change. This is the point from which really huge changes starts. Our community members, I hope, will be proud of our community. And I want to be a unique person in implementing this people's hopes and expectations.
About the state agricultural architectural inspection, and we do not have specialists in this. We understand that we should create such an inspection, but we are limited in professionals, and previously I thought that we do not need this, but now I see that we need to create this architectural inspection in order to understand what is going on in the territory of the community, because those entities who want to construct or repair facilities, they should not address the executive committee, they address the inspection and get the construction permit, and we lose opportunity to get pay contribution when this facility is introduced into operation. We do not know whether this is done with proper permits, so everything that can be controlled should be controlled, and successful Ukraine will start when we return to the system, this golden Lenin's principle of accountability and control. I'm not a big proponent of Lenin, but I believe that there were a lot of positive things. So accountability and control. The Association of the Cities didn't favor the oversight in this area, but maybe when the state should see the efficiency of decision-taking. Gennady Grigorievich Zovko, the Minister of Regional Development, came to us, and he had a meeting with the heads of administrations, and he said that Dushko sent a letter to me. I sent a letter to him because the Association of the Cities of Ukraine sent a letter in order that we address the government in order to prevent regional administrations from limiting us. So I said that this is impossible because the reform is reversible, and there should be changes introduced, and the regional administrations should be cancelled, and we will have peace in such a case in our territories, because there is a big confrontation with between regional administrations and newly created united communities. And we said that and the prosecutor's office took all the obligations, and we are convinced that decisions should be controlled. But this there should be a proper body, maybe oblast administrations, but this is not correct because the governor is a political figure, and here there can be different things that are far from being democratic. So it should be an independent body that would control decisions that are taken by the councils and executive committees concerning the constitutionality and legality. I won't continue the topic of state oversight. It is difficult if this is the then the democracy in Ukraine is not for real. So you united half the region, and what does the regional administration do, and do you have proper cooperation? So maybe this is of interest to the whole Ukraine. Recently, without competition, they sold the premises of the cinema theater, and they got 1,460,000, about 1.5 million of hryvnias, and they shared it between the villages, and they didn't provide anything to Baranivska community. So they do harm to some extent. So maybe this is natural, but this is wrong. And if you say A, you should say B. And I address everyone. We thank for the key reform, but please complete it, because in my council we do not have decisions that are made incorrectly. I have my majority, and I say that we need decisions that will unite us. And the points of agenda that create confrontation, we won't consider it. We should create a civil society, because now there are many issues concerning West and East, and truth or lies, and now it is painful to see that there are many risks, and now the churches are divided into Moscow and Kiev Patriarchate, and we should reconcile people, and we do not sleep under one blanket, and we do not open the same fridge. So we should communicate properly among ourselves. So there should be proper legislation to support reforms. There is a number of draft laws that are in the Supreme Council. And do you work with the deputies from the Supreme Council who are from your district? So also, I'd like to say that our Association of Cities is really a powerful entity, especially when Slobozhan became the executive director, and we use this mechanism. But I would like to say that maybe the problem is not in the Supreme Council. All the draft laws that the government want to be adopted, they are adopted, but maybe there is a lack of will in the government. There are people who want decentralization, those who don't want it, and there should be an important center of influence. And we should get rid of Soviet problems and phobias. We need motivated people who will bring positive change. And I often participate in the committee concerning budget. I understand what is going on. I know that there are ministers who are influential or less influential, and the salaries differ, and in education sphere there will be 75% increase in the salary, but also we have people who won't get this increase in other spheres, such as healthcare, or those who work in kindergartens or in libraries. And one of the last General Secretary, Mr. Chernenko, and he was a teacher previously, and the salary of teachers was raised, but we should go. And no one said that we should increase the salaries of teachers and do not increase the salaries of doctors. So we should do these things in the interests of all the categories. So in what way do you develop the sector? So I was asked to head the regional administration once, and I didn't, and I failed during the interview. And when I thought that I will be the head of administration, the first thing I thought, who will head the regional department of education? If we want to think 100 years ahead, we should think about education.
We started working on this. We tried to find some measurement units, some measurement tools. We had 19 kindergartens and 7 schools, and I think that we did not make a mistake. The head of our Department of Education is previously director of village school. His results of school children are even better than those in Baranivska village. I do not want to replace the head of our educational department, but I think that our goal is to inspire, to become a teacher, to get teachers to village schools. We try to do different things, such as payment of benefits, but everything from January 1st will be very transparent. We have problems with staff, with human resources. We can't fire directors, but everything is being done for children. Talking about education, we will be talking with the education department of your community. Let's talk then about participatory budgeting. On the example of your Baranivska community, I do not like this foreign terms. I do not like the word optimization. People think that optimization is reduction. Optimization is just balancing. Something will be larger, something will be reduced. And about participatory budgeting, everyone can take part in decision making on budgeting. This is the main thing. During presentation, there were some doubts voiced out. Our members of community were very active in this discussion. How many projects have been implemented? It was the first year, so this year we will have 3 projects to be implemented. What are these areas of these projects? I know that one of them concerns improvement of village museum operations, and the other concerns the school, gymnasium school, and the third project. There were territorial centers previously who assisted single persons. There will be rehabilitation center established. So the third project concerns the rehabilitation center, where some persons who suffer diseases, they can be rehabilitated, and something also concerns inclusiveness, but I do not know in detail. Everything was very transparent. It was our residents' decision. How the budget of your community after the uniting process differ from that before the uniting process? Local budgets in the nationwide, they increased by 31 billion. And whether the expenditures of local budgets increase? Last year's budget of Baranivska village of 12,000 persons, it was 166,000 million. Now we have 9 million for 9 months now. This means nothing. 80% are current expenditures for salaries. What budget means? Budget means opportunity to make capital expenditures, to repair, to create infrastructure. So do you have small development budget? Yes. We have the suite of Yuri Ganushak. We have 8.9 subvention, million of subvention. There were we have 3 vehicles which were provided to our community. Now we will be able to clean our roads from snow, for example. Next year the subvention will be lower. 3 years after that it would be even more lower. As concerns the budget of cities and towns, this is a gap. This is like west and east, they differ, and something should be changed, because a person who lives in Kiev and who lives in Baranivka village should live to the same life standards. Our Ministry of Finance, they manipulate profit revenue part of the budget. They took from our revenues the income tax. I do not agree with you. The government provided 10 different instruments for communities development. First is voluntary unity, united communities. As of today, the total amount of budgets, the deposits are about 11 billions. This does not concern your specific community, but other communities. Why? The instruments provided by the government are not used efficiently. This is nonsense. There is a procedure or order of use of the funds. This year, we won the project of the Ministry of Regional Development, but we do not implement it at once. First, we should produce project documents. And this money, they are available on our accounts, but they could not be spent. They could be on deposit account or overnight. When they stay for months on deposits, taking into account these procedures, we want to buy some garbage vehicles for removing garbage, but we can't because of these procedures of depositing funds. We have already won the context for bank grant. I think this is interference. The communities, they now they have one life standard and they will have the other life standard, and this depends on personal qualities of the heads of these communities. What I would like to say, the development budget is the budget which provides the possibility to implement infrastructure projects, to purchase needed goods, and the income tax was taken from us, so we get proceeds only on contribution pay, and one more tax. So this is not correct, because we do not have enough money. We are not guilty that January 1st 20 schools were taken out from us. Two schools were closed because people voted for this. This year the state continues experimenting on self-governance. From January 1st, the government took technical staff salaries and energy consumption from subventions. So we have 5.2 million for schools as subvention. This is not enough. How can we plan? In healthcare system, we have a shortage of 2.2 million. We hope for the stabilization subvention of 2 billion hryvnias in the national budget. We should understand how much money will be budgeted for us, because we can't plan when we do not know these figures. I think that you should just voice out this problem so that the parliament and the presidential administration knows this. My accountant, she knows finances better, but I am a manager and I issued decisions, not my accountant. Why Ministry of Finance dominate in the country? I do not know. something should be done to towns, not talking about villages. This is what I hear at the national level of policymakers. There were no services provided, just subventions were used. I am crying that I am a head of community. Give us powers to take part in the revenues. From September 1st, Baranivska village Rada has a position of control over the funds, because when there is a shop working in the village, this is an economic crime that this shop does not pay taxes to local community budget. Now we can't inspect, we can't audit. We see how forest is embezzled through timber productions. So we should maintain reporting and monitoring, and this new power, which is young, they should provide us powers to monitor business, not for us to press on the business. We live on our territories. The differentiation principle will be respected. Maybe we issue plans every month. Well, we should end our talk now. And the final question, what would you wish? The main wish is for us to be heard. Everyone are talking about lyceums. The education department, regional education department, is charged with control of education system of our community. This is not correct. If we have powers in our Baranivska educational department, then we can take decisions. For example, we need public-private partnership program to be used in our community. We should compete for grants under this program. We have an affiliate of vocational school in our community. We should also buy new vehicles, and we want to restructure educational institutions so that we can educate such specialists which we really need. For example, cheesemakers who will be hunted for. Ukrainian villages where 3,000 liters of milk are produced in all villages, then we can produce cheese. How much time do you need to get results of your strategy? For example, I want cheesemakers to be trained in my community. If the Ministry of Education will be in communal ownership, but this is the decision of the governor, of the ministry, I hope that your enthusiasm will be enough